you are a person who works in long-term care, you're probably already pretty familiar with sundowning or sundown syndrome, as it's sometimes called, because it is not unusual for people living with dementia to have sundowning, especially later on as the disease progresses, and especially during the times of year when there is less light. The way that we recognize sundowning is that at the time that there's less light in the day, which is why it's called sundowning, so late afternoon, that we might notice that a person is becoming more agitated than they were earlier in the day. We might notice that they're pacing. They might become quick to anger. They might hallucinate. So they behave a little bit like their dementia symptoms have worsened for a little bit of time in the afternoon, and then they get better again. So let's talk a little bit about why people experiencing sundowning. So there is some thought that it has to do with just the changes in the brain that are causing a person's circadian rhythms to get sort of confused. And so it results in this agitated state. There's also some thought that that time of day is typically a time when people in everyday life transition their activities. So late in the afternoon might be the time when earlier in your resident's life, they picked up the kids from school, or maybe that was about the time of day when they started wrapping up work and heading home, or maybe that was the time of day when they started getting dinner ready. Now they can't remember what it is that they should be doing, but they feel like there's something that they should be doing right now. This is the time of the day when I should be doing something. And that results in agitation. There have also been some studies that have shown that the transitions that happen in the care community in the late afternoon can be problematic for the residents. So for instance, if a staff change happens at around 5 in the afternoon, and so some of the staff are putting on their coats and getting ready to leave, the residents could then pause and think, wait a minute, what should I be doing right now? Is there something I'm supposed to be doing right now? Because I see other people doing things. And so in some cases, a decision will be made that staff will, for instance, maybe stagger their hours so that people leave at different times, or perhaps staff will put on their coats and leave through a different door so that residents don't see those activities taking place. How do we in a long-term care community support people who are in the throes of sundowning? So somebody who's agitated, they're pacing, maybe they're seeing things. What we want to do is be with the person, hold their hands, breathe with them. We can ask them how they're feeling. If they say, I don't know, I'm feeling anxious, we can say, I understand that you're feeling anxious. How can I best support you? If they're able to offer advice about how to support them, you can then act on that. You might want to distract them with an activity that takes their mind off of the fixation that is causing them to experience sundowning. It might be a good time to sit down and watch a Zinnia video. Perhaps if a person is in a state of agitation in the afternoon, you might say, hey, I know that you are absolutely crazy about sewing. I was hoping that you would watch this video with me and explain to me what the people are doing in this video because you're such an expert on sewing. So there are a number of different ways that we can support a person in the moment when they are sundowning. How do we respond to a person who is sundowning in a long-term care community? What we don't want to do is tell the person to calm down and stop it, because that is not going to get us anywhere. What we need to do is try to understand what their reality is and accept their reality. So if there is something that's causing them agitation, we want to understand what their agitation is about. We want to remind them that they're safe. So how do we prevent sundowning? If you know that a person typically starts getting upset at about 10 minutes before the sun goes down, the way that we would support that person is to engage them in an activity prior to that time. So maybe what we would do is if sundown is at 5:30 and they would typically get upset at about 5:15, then at 5 o'clock, we probably want to start some kind of an activity. That activity might be that we sit down together and we watch a Zinnia video. It might be if the person was the person in their household who made dinner, for instance. We might want to, at that time, bring them into the dining area and give them plastic cups and plastic plates and have them set the tables. It might mean that we have a tub that has potatoes and carrots in it and a little bit of water and a scrubber. And we ask them, oh my gosh, could you please help us make dinner tonight? And we give them a task that's associated with what they would have been doing at that time as a healthy person to preempt any kind of sundowning effect. So there is some evidence that lighting can have an impact on sundowning. So we might want to, for instance, in the common area where people are gathered, have there be lights that we can turn on that have natural daylight lighting, and we slowly turn those up, or we turn those on at, if sundown is at 5:30, that we perhaps turn those on at 5 o'clock to prevent the sundowning effect. We need to make sure if we're changing the lighting up that we're not creating a lot of shadows, which can be confusing for people who are living with dementia. We also want to make sure as much as possible that we stick with a very standard regimented sleep routine for people, because if they are having disrupted sleep, that can also have an impact on sundowning. So for instance, we have Zinnia videos that are good night videos that help people maintain a routine around sleeping. We always watch the good night video, then we go to bed. We have videos that people can watch called Go Back to Bed if they wake up in the middle of the night to help them go back to sleep again. So great sleep helps reduce chances of sundowning. In a long-term care setting, it's important to recognize that everybody that you're supporting is doing the best they can. And if they have a sundown episode in the afternoon, the best thing that you can do is be there for them, be supportive, let them know that they're safe, hold their hands, breathe with them if they will allow that, find a way to help them get through the sundowning episode, which might mean distraction. It might mean taking them for a walk. It might mean using soothing words, telling them that you understand how they feel. We never, ever want to be angry at a person because they're experiencing sundowning, because it's not something that they have any control over.